Here's how the 2022 Jeep Grand Wagoneer lives up to the brand's legacy. Jeep has been riding the SUV wave for some time now, and it has handled it well. Consumers in the US have been snatching up anything with the term SUV or crossover in it. Thankfully for Jeep, that is all they have ever offered. But not until recently have they really pulled out the big guns with the introduction of the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer. Large SUVs like these have proven to be very popular and even more profitable. They go up in competition with segment stalwarts such as the Chevrolet Tahoe, Cadillac Escalade, and Ford Expedition. But out of the two newest Jeep editions, all eyes are on the Grand Wagoneer. There has been a lot of hype in recent years surrounding the idea that Jeep could unveil an SUV that rivals a Range Rover in luxury. But this is not the first time that Jeep has been in this market. The nameplate has been around since the 1980s, but just now has it been revived. Here is a detailed look at how Jeep has been able to successfully pass the baton from the old to new Grand Wagoneer. Bringing the Grand Wagoneer into the 21st century. The Grand Wagoneer was not initially in the cards when this body style was initially introduced as the Wagoneer in the 1960s. The Wagoneer gradually moved upscale with some of its trimlines over time, but it was not until 1984 that Jeep decided to go all in on luxury and announce the Grand Wagoneer as a more upscale alternative to the original Wagoneer. It did a great job of blending the charm of a traditional off-roader and a luxury vehicle, with plush leather and wood-grain exterior paneling. The new Grand Wagoneer strives to pay homage to its iconic predecessors, while also paving its own path in the modern luxury SUV market. One of the biggest pointers showing it's a spiritual successor to the first generation is through its styling. It retains boxy styling and an overall lack of curves, which was also present on the original model. Keeping all three side windows distinctly separate on the new Grand Wagoneer is an unusual styling cue for luxury SUVs, but is styling that is undoubtedly true to Grand Wagoneers. Along with styling, Jeep has tried to keep the Grand Wagoneer's brawniness alive in other ways. You see this with the powertrain offered on the new Grand Wagoneer. The only current engine offering is a 6.4-liter Hemi V8 that produces a hefty 471 horsepower. The original Grand Wagoneer was also a poster child for V8 power, given that it offered a 5.9-liter V8 that provided 140 horsepower. That horsepower figure may not seem like much for today's standards, but was still respectable for the time. Regardless, having a capable V8 has always been the necessary finishing piece to complete the rugged luxury personal of all Grand Wagoneers. The 2022 Jeep Grand Wagoneer's competition. In the days when the first-generation Grand Wagoneer was new, the competition looked quite different from it does today. You had vehicles like the Ford Bronco as competitors, which never was considered a luxury SUV. But as the second-generation Grand Wagoneer has re-entered the scene, the competition has become a lot more prevalent and refined. But thankfully, Jeep has the reputation and resources to still make waves in a crowded segment. The Cadillac Escalade, one of the reigning champs in the full-size luxury SUV market, has been undisputed for some time now, but the Grand Wagoneer brings not only the same level of luxury, but also off-road prowess that cannot be rivaled in this segment. No other luxury vehicle in the segment is able to match what the Grand Wagoneer can do off-road. This is thanks to Jeep offering various types of 4WD systems for the Grand Wagoneer. Despite the climate of the competition of the time, both the old and new Grand Wagoneers have been able to distinguish themselves as something special. The heritage that is inherent with both models has been able to make them an appealing option, even if they haven't been the fastest or most technologically advanced SUV in the segment. Jeep has been able to obtain a very firm grasp on one of the most lucrative markets in the automotive industry with the introduction of the new Grand Wagoneer. The attention that the new Grand Wagoneer is receiving is due largely to the reputation of the original Grand Wagoneer, an SUV that enchanted so many. In the large luxury SUV segment, there have not been many instances where you have been able to have ruggedness and ultra-luxury amenities in one package. Leave it to Jeep to give us all that we could want in a luxury SUV and an off-roader not only once, but twice.